Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be here, and it was lovely hearing so far from all the presenters yesterday and today, and thank you for having me. So today I'm going to talk to you about how to bring external communication trends into your internal communication. It's something that we've tried at PageGroup last year, and I'll talk to you about the experience we've made with that. So I'm Samira, and I lead the internal communication of PageGroup, which is a recruitment company. And you might have heard about them through the brand Michael Page. It's probably the most renowned one. Essentially, we recruit with Page personnel for clerical and specialist positions. Through Michael Page, we recruit candidates for our clients in managerial positions. Page Executive is our executive search recruitment consultancy. And Page Outsourcing is when we recruit en masse positions for our client companies. And we like to say and state that we change lives because I do think that when someone changes jobs, it is quite a milestone in their career. We're present in 36 countries around the world, and we've got 7,500 plus something employees. And I'm going to talk to you first about the channels that we use. So, let's see. Right. I started with PageGroup in 2012, so I've seen quite a bit of an evolution. And when I started, we had the following set of channels. We relied heavily on emails, intranet posters. It looked a bit messy all the time in the kitchen because a lot of posters, because a lot of things needed to be communicated. Office presentations and the typical conference calls where, if you remember, we had some spider devices in the middle of the table and everyone was trying to get their voice heard. But email was really a tough one because emails, especially to celebrate and congratulate people when someone was being promoted, for example, you had the promotion announcement and then you got 25 reply to alls and you got several times every month, and it was a bit messy. So we evolved. We implemented Yammer in end of 2014, early 2015, and we still had a little bit of email going on, but really our motto then was let's switch and turn off emails and move completely to Viva Engage. We had the intranet that was still existing. It was also a bit of a messy landscape because every market, every country had its own system, sometimes based on SharePoint, sometimes others, so it was a bit all over the place. And then the remaining channels remained the same. So that was by 2015. Moving on to 2020, and similar to lots of companies, with COVID came Teams. And so overnight, we implemented Teams for the quick collaboration, the conference calls, the town halls. And so we were able to remove some of the previous formats like those conference calls, like the WebEx type of formats. And we had by then really removed the email from our channel. So today we do not use emails to communicate to our entire organization. News go over Viva Engage. And that's a little bit the picture today. So Viva Engage is our written channel number one. Then we've got Teams and the virtual town halls, the intranet, which I'll show you as well in a little bit, and occasionally digital signage in some select markets. So I wanted to show you a little bit about our channels. PageConnect is the name of our intranet, and we don't use it to communicate news. It's a resource hub. So we've got a lot of links and a lot of areas for accessing resources and more advanced documentation, policies, and whatnot. But it's not somewhere where the CEO, for example, would say, "Dear all, this is happening in the organization." Now, we do link to the place where that's being done. If you look at the top nav, we got some carousel icons, and on the right-hand side, you've got the link to the Viva Engage feed. That's to remind people that they should go on Viva Engage. So it's a little bit of a signpost. And what we also use it for is to have more developed resource hubs. So when there are specific topics that we want to expand a little bit on or show a little bit more of what we do and provide additional resources, we create those hubs. So for AI, for our social impact activity, for some of our operations, like our Page Executive brand, or some of the latest studies that we release. And recently it was the Talent Trends 2025. So there we have a more specific hub. But again, I mentioned earlier, so we do signpost to Viva Engage because that's really our top channel within PageGroup globally. So I'm just going to show you briefly what it looks like for us. So here you've got our CEO who visited some of the markets and published something about it, whether it's office visits, program updates, mid-year review time, or whatever it is, but it's being communicated on Viva Engage. What I really like about it, it's the formats, it's the fact that you can use photos, videos, and have a little bit of fun with it. The fact that you can react to it and get some comments from employees. I think by now we probably all know a little bit about the benefits of Viva Engage. Now, with that in mind, those are the channels that we have. And then in 2023, we had a new strategy being launched by our new CEO. And we had this, this task basically of landing the new strategy. And we did that towards end of 2023 in the typical ways, town halls, resource hubs, etc. But our CEO wanted to do a little bit more, and he wanted to land some very specific messages that relate to our strategy. And the messages are that less is more, we want to build on our strengths, and ultimately we want to know what we're famous for. And our idea was for everyone in the organization to know what they're famous for. So that's the message that we wanted to land. And so what I did is I prepared a campaign, and I think I was happy with what I had put together, and I had a call with my CEO and my CMO, and I presented the campaign to them. And our CEO was quite nice. He was like, yeah, it's good, looks fine, it's fine. And I was like, well, that's not really what I was hoping for in terms of reaction. He's like, yeah, it's fine, and you'll land a little bit of the message, but could we get a little bit more oomph to it? And I was like, all right, well, leave it with me. I'll get started. I'll think of something, and I'll feedback. So with that in mind, and knowing that we've got multiple generations at work, and we want to also appeal to the newer generations, I put together some reminders. It sounds a bit generic, and there are always exceptions to all the characteristics of the different generations, but just to get a sense, in the past, we probably focused on probably Gen X boomers and a little bit of millennials. And here the goal was also to focus on Gen Z. And so Gen Z likes fast, informal, they like instant messages, they like TikTok. They like perhaps Instagram Reels a bit less, that's probably millennials, Snapchat, and everything that is fast moving. And really the span of attention is fairly limited. So we need to get the messages across fairly in a simple way. I want to focus on TikTok. Now remember that the goal that I have is to convey the message of you want to know what you're famous for. So TikTok has a few advantages, or a few things that really stand out. It's an authentic platform. You get your message across quickly, snackable content, and there are trends. And I want to highlight one trend that came out, I think it was early 2024. And I want to check who knows that trend. The of course trend. Does that ring a bell to anyone? Hands up. All right, a few of you, right? So I'm going to show, for everyone who doesn't know the trend, I'm going to show you one video. And if you don't know it, it might seem cringe. That's okay.
I'm British. Of course I have a roast every Sunday.
I'm British. Of course I like tea.
I'm British. Of course I avoid confronting.
I'm British. Of course I wait in a queue.
I'm British. Of course I have a pint on a Friday night.
Right, so the of course trend is to highlight some very specific things that define what you introduce yourself for. Be like, I'm a stewardess, of course I always have my hand luggage ready. I'm a stewardess, of course I work in a uniform, or whatever it might be. And so with that, no. So here's my little, I had to have a little bug moment. let me just show you the video and I'll go back to the other slide afterwards. With that, we created this trend. So we've worked with the of course trend and made it work for us. And we used the hashtag #FamousFor, and I'm going to show you how it ended up looking like for us. And essentially, we had our CEO publish this video to all company to just make the message of #FamousFor a bit present across the organization.
We are Page. Of course, we know someone who's overly caffeinated.
We are Page. Of course, we know someone who's famous for some messy competition.
We're Paige, and of course we know someone who's famous for always being cold. I told you.
We're Paige. Of course we know someone who's famous for being creative.
We are Page. Of course, we know someone who's famous for staying focused, no matter what.
We work at Page. Of course, we find our best candidates in Customer Connect.
I need to find a benefits analyst from a law firm in Tallinn, Connecticut.
It's a great
How am I
mission,
ever going to do that?
Working there as well. I can send you over like a job description for you to review if you'd be interested, but I know that 3 days.
Oh my God!
We're at Page. Of course, we love to ring the bell. Placement from Renata!
All right, so that was our launch communication for our #FamousFor campaign. It is not a TikTok style 30 seconds, it's slightly longer, but it was to get that message across of what are you going to be famous for, what you're famous for. And what it really did was it had a lot of engagement, and we were positively surprised, and the CEO was happy. It was definitely out of his comfort zone, and for my CMO as well, because when I suggested this, they were like, well, do you know what? We're not your audience. So if you think that will land, then go for it. And I was just very glad about this open-mindedness and then being quite flexible and, yeah, just willing to try something out. And my CEO said something like, you know, we're a serious company, but we don't want to take ourselves too seriously. And I think that was the critical difference. And so we did have a lot of engagement. I just want to show you a bit of a... Like, this is just for one post, like the amount of people just commenting, had to blur everyone's names. That was in Germany, data protection. So there's that. But also, and I'm going to go back to the previous slide, it created a lot of organic engagement and people just wanting to participate in the campaign. And so we provided templates that people could just fill out with what they want to be famous for or what their team want to be famous for. We had people creating videos, creating templates on Canva that we didn't know about. It was very creative, but what it showed us, the message landed, and that was a really exciting moment in that campaign. And I'm pretty sure that everyone in the organization now knows what they want to be famous for. So I'm just going to try to avoid the sound again. Oh, there we go. We do track the results. We want to measure a little bit what works. So I just wanted to show you, PageGroup is the tool that we use to measure engagement, activity, and whatnot. There's a lot of data. I never use everything because there's just so much. So what I do focus on in this particular case is we had 170 posts. Most of them were organic, almost 400 comments, and a lot of reactions in terms of likes, hearts, and everything that we like to see as internal communicators. I'm not saying we should use TikTok trends for everything we do in internal communication. I think it needs to be thought through, like, does it match my company? Does it match our tone of voice? Will it resonate with our people? Is it fit for the purpose of the campaign that you want to do? But really what I want to convey with it is to be open-minded about it, because if it works on TikTok, there's a chance that it might also land well internally. And with formats like, or with channels like Viva Engage, we do have those options, right? We can publish videos, images, GIFs, or whatever it is. We can be a bit playful. So of course it has to match the company's style and tone of voice, but yeah, perhaps there's a bit of room for it. And then what I've been a fan of Viva Engage, or previously Yammer, for like since the beginning, really. And what I see is it allows us to focus on storytelling, to bring our campaign and messages to life in a dynamic way. It's a two-way communication street. People get to react, to engage, to comment. Leadership can get their personalities across if they really make use of the platform and dare to be authentic. You can specialize your communications. We've heard also a little bit before. You can have targeted communities. So I think there's a lot to do. And if you merge all of that, merge the trends, merge an authentic communication style and platforms that you have at hand, in our case, Viva Engage, I think there are good chances we can get our messages across. And yeah, that was from me. Thank you.